I'm Jeni Britton Bauer, and I'm an ice cream expert. I'm gonna have to go back here again. Okay, it looks like we have a vanilla ice cream. Actually, it looks like a vanilla bean ice cream, which means that there are the little specks from the inside of the vanilla bean pod in the ice cream that is probably adding a little bit of flavor. So let me tell you what I look for when I'm tasting ice cream. You can evaluate all ice creams on these four sort of facets of ice cream: flavor, texture, body, and finish. Flavor is what you taste on your tongue and also experience in your nose, right? Texture is the fineness between your tongue and the roof of your mouth of the ice cream, or grittiness, right? And so ice cream can run that whole spectrum. Body is kind of like the elasticity of the ice cream, or how it rolls into a ball, how it scoops. And then, of course, we're left with the finish of the ice cream, which is, after a few minutes, what's still left on your palate. Just visually, our sample A is brighter white. It definitely has flecks of vanilla in it. And B is a slightly darker white, if you will. It's darker in color, and that could be for a few reasons. It could be because it has more vanilla in it, more of those specks, or even more vanilla extract. It could also be the dairy, what the cows are fed. When it starts to melt, the ice cream, you can start to see the butterfat kind of rising to the top, and you can see it almost as like a sheen. And I'm definitely seeing that over here, like a little bit of that sheen from some butterfat. If I had to guess at this point, although it could be wrong, I would guess that our sample B would have a little bit more butterfat in it. I'm ready to taste these flavors, and vanilla is one of my favorite flavors, so I can't wait. Oh, I can tell just by touching the ice cream. This one is got a pretty high overrun. Overrun is the word we use for air content. You have to have a little bit of air in ice cream to make it feel creamy. All right, let's go. Now let me tell you how I taste ice cream. Because it's all about scent. Use the air that you can fill up in your face and scent it with what's on your tongue. I mean, it's about breathing. It's very sweet. Ice cream is sweet. Maybe that's a little bit of fructose in there. Maybe it's just some cane sugar, which is a little bit more sucrose, and those are very sort of top note sugars. Vanilla is everywhere. It's a fairly top note vanilla. I don't get a lot of smokiness, and my palate is definitely coated with a decent amount of butterfat. And now our B. Just putting my spoon in, it feels definitely denser and maybe a little heavier. A very different vanilla over here. B has, I think, a little bit more butterfat in it. I think there's a little bit more complexity to this vanilla. It's a really beautiful ice cream. If I had to guess which one is more expensive, I'm going to go with B. I feel like it's got more cream in it. The vanilla might be a slightly higher quality vanilla too, more of those notes in it. So let's see. There you go. Yes. $1.90 a pint versus $6.99 a pint. So there are many reasons an ice cream can cost a little bit more or a lot more. If it's a higher cream ice cream, it's gonna be more expensive because there's only a little bit of butterfat in every gallon of milk, and you've gotta concentrate that to make a really good ice cream. Most ice creams that are more expensive are gonna have a lower quantity of air. Air is free, of course, so it makes something a little bit less expensive. One way to know what you're getting in your ice cream is to compare calorie counts. Your higher calorie one will usually have a little more butterfat in it and less air. I always think that it's not the place in my week that I want to skimp on calories. It's actually a place that I want to look for more calories, because a few more calories in a scoop makes a big difference. If vanilla is your favorite flavor, you might not have to pay more or very much money to have a great scoop. Of course, a flavor like vanilla, which has been around forever and ever and ever, is going to have some efficiencies built into the system. Okay, we've got chocolate to taste now. Clearly, we're gonna notice color first in chocolate. A is a darker color, and B is a lighter color chocolate. It could mean that A has more cocoa or chocolate in it, but it could also mean that we're working with different kinds of cocoa. A Dutch processed cocoa is gonna appear darker, but actually taste sometimes a little bit lighter. In chocolate, it's a little bit different, and it can be tricky because a lower butterfat but higher cocoa ice cream can actually be a richer chocolate experience. If there's a chocolate ice cream with a lot of butterfat in it, you're probably not gonna get as much chocolate in it. And butterfat can also be a barrier to flavor when you want that sort of bitterness of chocolate. If you add a lot of cocoa powder to your cream and sugar, you can dry out your ice cream. Often ice cream makers will not add as much cocoa simply because it dries it out and makes it too dry, unless you really know what you're doing. The science of this ice cream is getting that aspect of it right. And then the other reason, of course, that an ice cream maker might not use as much cocoa is because it's a very expensive ingredient. When you scoop an ice cream, you'll get striations, and it sort of almost looks like feathering. So when I'm looking at the ice cream, I can often, but not always, tell air content by the amount of space between the feathers of the ice cream. They both look like they have maybe about the same amount of air content in them. So I'm ready to taste these ice creams and see how they bloom. I'm gonna make a bit of a guess and say that B might have slightly less cocoa in it, slightly less of that chocolate flavor, so I'm gonna go with that first. Let's see. It's a nice, almost kind of a slightly dark but kind of milk chocolate. Very clean ice cream. It's sweet, of course, all ice cream is sweet. But you know, ice cream is sweet in different ways depending on what kinds of sugar it contains. You can get very, very almost cotton candy sweet if you have a lot of fructose in there. But this is just a very clean ice cream and not too sweet. Okay, ready for A. Also very rich, very fudge-like. You can, I don't know if you can see, I mean, it almost has no air in it. It's almost like a terrine. Chocolate does that to ice creams. I mean, both of these samples have a richness to them even before you taste them. Very chocolatey. I don't want to smile because I feel like I'm going to have chocolate all over me. This one is all about the chocolate. Without question, it just keeps blooming and going from a chocolate perspective. This one's also a very nice chocolate. It's a little more about the dairy aspect of the chocolate. Neither one of these seem like they have stabilizers in them. A stabilizer is an ingredient that ice cream makers will often use to thicken an ice cream, to hold water, and to build stability so that an ice cream can melt and refreeze without losing quality. Both of these are melting so cleanly. I don't get any of the sort of stickiness that often stabilizers will bring. So I would say that both of these are very, very high quality ice creams. This one is going to have clearly a lot more chocolate in it than this one. If I'm guessing, I'm gonna go with A is the more expensive of these two ice creams, mostly because it has so much more chocolate. So let's see. Yep, but not too far off. The more cocoa, the more chocolate that's in the ice cream, the more expensive, of course, it's gonna be. So when you're picking out a chocolate ice cream, the best thing you can do is start with your preferences. Do you like milk chocolate or do you like dark chocolate? Another interesting facet of chocolate ice cream, especially a dark chocolate ice cream, it will often have lower fat content. So it's a different situation with the calorie content. If you're talking about an expensive chocolate ice cream that's lower in fat but still at a higher price point, it's probably because it has a lot of cocoa in it, which is an expensive ingredient and displaces that fat. Don't just go by color, go by what you like and what the flavor is that you want to experience in your chocolate. Okay, it looks like we've got some strawberry ice cream. Strawberries, like some other fruits too, are a water-soluble scent, which just means that the scent in strawberry will adhere to the water that's already in the ice cream. The cream and the milk contain a lot of water. The really complicated thing about making strawberry ice cream is that you can't add that many strawberries to it without making it very icy. So ice cream makers are always grappling with how much strawberry before the whole thing becomes icy. We want it to taste like strawberries, but we also want it to taste like cream. So this will be interesting. Similar colors are happening between the two. A is a little lighter in color than B, but not a lot. Color can really affect what you perceive when you taste it. You can get a strong strawberry flavor and not get a strong pink color. So a lot of times ice cream makers will add like a little bit of pink coloring or maybe even like just some beet juice to bring up that color a little bit. I mean, both look, well, pretty creamy. Yeah, I kind of want to get in and try them. I'll start with A this time. A little sticky, that could be a sugar, it could be a stabilizer. When I was growing up, strawberry was my favorite flavor. So I don't think I've ever met a strawberry ice cream that I don't like. It tastes a lot of strawberries. They're very clean strawberries. I feel like there's a little bit of a mouth-watering finish, which a lot of times comes from a stabilizer, so we'll see. All right, let's go with B. Color is a little more pronounced here. It's a little pinker, definitely very dense. Yeah, this one's a denser ice cream, a little maybe less air. You know, it's funny because you can't always smell ice creams while they're frozen, but strawberry is one that you can, I guess, because there's a lot of scent going on in the air here before I even try it. That's an interesting strawberry ice cream. I'm gonna have to go back here again. Almost it almost has like a yogurt scent to it. I don't understand what's happening with this one. It's almost like, tastes like a candy. Strawberry bubblegum is what it is. It's a strawberry bubblegum flavor, so they're clearly using a flavor in here, which I will just say, having worked with strawberries all my life, is completely unnecessary. Strawberries are very strong in scent and they will permeate all of the cream. Okay, so here's my guess. I would guess that this one's gonna be more expensive because it seems like it's got a lot of tricks in it. It's got some kind of acidity happening in there that's like thickening, and I don't know if it's yogurt or something else. And then on top of it, some other flavor. It's very, very dense. If I have to guess, it's somebody who's trying to make really good ice cream and it's just not very good. Here we go. Oh, good grief, it's perfect, right? Look at this, 10.27. Now, if that isn't evidence that not all expensive ice creams are worth it, then I don't know what is. Too many extra bells and whistles or whatever just aren't necessary. A is clean tasting. It's very simple. With some of these sort of standard classic flavors, you get the efficiencies of the system that just can't be really beat. Where you can't make every ice cream, I think, for $2.99 a pint. Clearly, this strawberry is a good one. Okay, it looks like we've got some coffee ice cream. One of the reasons that I can tell that this is coffee as opposed to chocolate is its color. It's a warmer tan than like a milk chocolate or a chocolate would be. And then also because our sample B actually has coffee grounds in it. I will tell you that they will continue to bloom even while they sit in the ice cream. This is a great example of when you look at the ice creams, they look different. This one, A, it looks a little like what we call in the business, we call it soggy. It just doesn't have the creaminess factor that this one has. Around the perimeter, the B sample is starting to melt and I can see some of that butterfat sheen, which I'm definitely not getting already in our A. That butterfat is gonna carry so much of that scent to your nose. When you experience a good coffee ice cream, I think that it tastes like coffee smells. To achieve that, we can steep coffee beans right in the milk and cream, and that's the best because then all of that scent actually adheres to the butterfat. Butterfat melts below body temperature, so even when it's frozen, all of those notes of coffee will bloom into your nose, just like a chocolate, actually. So let's get in and try it and see what we discover. So I'm going with B first. Well, it's a little airier than I thought it would be, honestly. It's very light, but it smells very rich. And even before I take a bite, I can smell it. It really tastes like a bag of coffee smells, and that's really important. The flavor and the scent is all there. Okay, so the interesting thing about sample A is that it's looked exactly like this since it came out, which is like a little sort of flat. I can just tell by bouncing it around that this is very, very stabilized ice cream. Do I have to eat this? It's very airy too. Not very much coffee coming off of it. All right, here goes. The first thing I notice is that it's very sweet. It has notes of caramel, which tells me that somebody is using a flavoring. This is nothing like opening up a bag of fresh coffee. Like it's not even close. It's not even in the ballpark. I would say this is the exact reason to spend more on ice cream. If you're a coffee lover, you want to spend more on coffee ice cream because it should really shine in ice cream. I mean, the ice cream platform is a great place for coffee. Okay, so I'm gonna say that B is the more expensive of the two and that A is the less expensive. So let's see. Yep, it's about right. $9 versus under $2. That's a big price difference. Sample A, you can really feel the sort of chewiness that the stabilizers bring, and it's a stringiness almost to the ice cream. Whereas Over here, the flavor is beautiful, and when you get it on your palate, it melts in just the right way. So I feel like it's you know, a better made ice cream. When it comes to reading ingredient labels on an ice cream pint, that's an important indicator of quality. You can really read the quality on the ingredient label. If toward the bottom you're looking at a lot of different kinds of sugars, ingredients that you don't recognize, mono and diglyceride, polysorbate 80, or those kinds of ingredients, then it can be an indicator that it's a lower quality ice cream, because better ice cream makers don't need all of those stabilizers and emulsifiers and just wouldn't use them. Well, it looks like we've got two completely different versions of not just mint chocolate chip, but green mint chip, because even though our sample A is very pale in color, it's still a green. You know, maybe it indicates that it's made with a fresh mint leaf. And then we have our more traditional green mint chip with that bright mint green color. This one looks a little bit marshmallowy, and marshmallowy indicates the sort of stable foam, meaning that there's stabilizers here. Not necessarily a bad thing, and I can smell the mint on there. A has far fewer chocolate chips than our sample B does, which seems to be positively loaded with chips, which is pretty fun. So let's jump into tasting. Let's see. I'm not getting mint just by smelling it. Very interesting. I'm trying to break out of my nostalgia and get to what I think about the flavor, right? Because I have an idea of what I expect this to taste like, and it doesn't. It's a little bit salty, which is interesting. Just a little bit of grit. I think it's pretty high in butterfat. I even see little specks of what I think are fresh mint. So I think it's a fresh mint ice cream. Yeah, it's very marshmallowy. With a flavor like this especially, that's not necessarily a bad thing. These are nostalgic flavors. You know, there's something about the texture that kind of plays into that as well. Like a slumber party, you know, it just like takes you right back. All right, here we go. It's got a really bouncy, almost chewy body. I'm not a huge fan of this mint. It's got more of a, like a toothpaste quality. I'm going to guess that our expensive version is version A, because it's a fresh mint, because it has a few extra bells and whistles, high quality ingredients, assembled maybe not in a perfect way, but I do think that every ingredient in here is a high quality ingredient. I think B is gonna be far less expensive, but I don't think it's a terrible ice cream. It's kind of like a, you know, preference thing, like all ice creams actually. So let's see. $11 versus $2.13. There you go. Our $11 ice cream probably involves more handwork, you know, fresh mint, which is challenging, I know, because I've done that many times. I mean, just getting the spiders out of fresh mint can be like challenging in its own self.
What is a spider?
Okay, when you get a big, huge pile of fresh mint in your kitchen that somebody picked out of a garden for you, you have to wash them and literally get the spiders out, because there are spiders in mint. Anyway, it's a nostalgic flavor. So if you love that sort of candied green mint, and that's your preference, you go for it, because that's really something special. Our sample A is a different kind of mint chocolate chip, or green mint chip. It's a fresh mint. It's got some good chocolate in it, clearly some decent quality dairy. I would say that this is absolutely worth the money. This is really fun. Two flavors that are so different from each other, I'm not even sure how they could be in the same category. One is very yellow with a chocolate swirl, maybe some other chocolate pieces in it. It looks like we have a nonpareil, the little spherical sprinkles hanging out over here. Maybe it's like a cupcake or something like that. I'm gonna pick it up and examine it a little closer. That sort of sheen on the surface of when it's melting, you can kind of tell that there's some butterfat in there. All right, let's examine our very white ice cream over here, which is not melting at all. So that indicates a cocktail of stabilizers and emulsifiers. I think I should just go in and try it, because I don't know what else I'm gonna glean from just looking at them. All right, let's look at some body happening here. Definitely got some body on this ice cream. Wow, I just ate something that I did not like. Those wax candies that you like open up and pour in your mouth from like the 70s. If you ate the wax, that was what it tasted. It felt like. These blind tastings are really difficult when I can't figure out what's in that, but if it's on the label and I'm expecting it, then it's a different experience. Okay. Now I'm interested, because it looks like there's some like chunks. Oh, Maybe it's like I don't know what it is. This is very marshmallowy. I mean, this is like marshmallow cream here. Oh, clearly it's a piece of cake. What we have here are 2 flavors of ice cream that have mix-ins in them. They're about the other stuff, nuts or candies, or in these cases, sprinkles and little bits of cake. B, very highly stabilized ice cream. The flavoring isn't terrible. And I will tell you that I believe that my own children would probably love this flavor. Gosh. I'd be hard-pressed to figure out which one of these is going to be more expensive. I think that it's A, and I think that's because there's a lot going on. It has lots of different things in it, but I think the base of the ice cream is meant to taste like a cake. B, I think, is going to be our less expensive ice cream. It seems like it's cheaply made. I mean, it's definitely full of stabilizers. It's just got a few pieces in it. They're very cookie cutter kind of cuts. I feel like it's more of an industrially made ice cream. So, should we check? Okay, so $5.99 and $1.13. This one is definitely worth about $1.13 a pint. I think it's like a birthday cake flavor, and you know, there's something super fun about that. I think if you're looking for a birthday cake, maybe you're looking for something like this, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just fine. It's in these sort of fashion flavors or the novelty flavors that ice cream makers' personalities really come through. We can do a lot with ice cream. We can scent and flavor our sort of base of the ice cream, and then we can add swirls or jams or sauces, crunchy bits, all sorts of different things you can do, and you can tell a story that way. And I think clearly this ice cream maker did that. And actually, that's kind of where all of our popular flavors start out anyway. To a kid, a flavor like birthday cake is gonna seem like a creative, kind of almost gourmet flavor. I think in some places, paying, $1.13 a pint for a birthday cake flavor is absolutely acceptable, perfect, and exactly what you might need. Quality ice cream can be very labor intensive and very expensive to produce, but you should get what you pay for. And ultimately, it's about your preference, and that's the only thing that matters. May I also suggest, while I'm at it, eat it from a cone. You get to go on that journey with it all the way to the bottom, and it is a wonderful way to eat ice cream. It's a wonderful way to get to know somebody else better and be in the moment with them. So, enjoy ice cream and have a great summer.